So I do want to thank you all for number one, agreeing to serve on what I think this is going to be a very exciting and one of these boards that I hope is going to accomplish some great things over its lifetime, certainly over the next few months and years. I think some great things that we can do here. And I thought it would be great if we could maybe start off with some introductions, since I don't know everybody, and I'm sure everybody's going to know each other. And I'll start, and then I'll just go across my screen as it came in from left to right. My name is Steve Mayo. I'm town administrator here in Wakefield. Before I was town administrator, I worked for I was the head of mortgage origination for Salem 5, and went to law school at night, had my own law firm that did a lot of mainly mortgages. And I loved nothing more than doing first-time homebuyer seminars and helping first-time homebuyers get into their homes. So this housing trust venture is near and dear to my heart. So I'm very happy to be here in its infancy and getting it off the ground and move forward as we can help some people enjoy home ownership in Wakefield. And I'm going from the top. Matt Lowry, I got you at my top left, so just how it panned out. So
all right, sounds good. Hello, everyone. Matt Lowry. I'm a registered land surveyor as my profession, and I've been on the planning board. I'm actually in my, I think, 16th year of being on the planning board, so I do know a little bit about the housing industry, working in surveying and seeing how things have been going over the past few decades, and the challenges we have right now. So hopefully I can contribute somewhat to this, and I'm looking forward to it.
Thank you, Matt. Gail.
Hi, I'm Gail Sievert. I'm currently the Senior Vice President and Controller of Stratford Capital Group. We specialize in syndication, development, and asset management of low-income housing tax credit properties. So I've been there 12 years. Prior to that, I was a software consultant, so I have that background, the CPA, sort of accounting background. But for the last 12 years, I've been working in low-income housing tax credits. And I do have experience working with homeless. I've worked with housing families and with the Malden Warming Shelter. So I do have some of that in my background too.
Thank you. Thank you, Gail, and welcome. Paula.
I'm Paula Thompson. I'm here as a member of the Commission on Disabilities, supporting people in Wakefield with a wide variety of disabilities. I also work full-time in the disability community with people with intellectual disabilities and autism, kind of in Wakefield and 9 surrounding towns that make up the Metro North area for DDS. I do that for Communitas and work with a lot of low-income families and helping them to secure housing. So definitely can bring that perspective.
Great, thank you. Councilor McLean.
Yeah, hey, Mike McLean, I'm the town council liaison or representative to this trust. Been a tax guy for 20 years, but I'm an attorney and a CPA. Prior to that, like Steve, you know, when we get this old, we've got prior lives too. And I've done rentals, I was a broker in quotes, which is just to kind of annoy the real brokers because lawyers didn't have to take the test.
Correct.
I've been a loan originator back in the day, closed loans for banks on the other side of the fence. And back when I was on the assessors, we went live with Patriot Properties. So, you know, Steve and I sometimes dabble in the Middlesex Registry of Deeds, and you know, I've got some familiarity with the whole loan process as well. That familiarity is probably a little bit dated, Steve, at this point.
Right.
Yeah, but glad to be here. It sounds like a fantastic group of people. Thank you.
Thank you, Mike. Sarah.
Good evening. I'm Sarah Fowler. I've been a Wakefield resident for about 10 years, and I actually chair the Wakefield Housing Authority Board. And I'm a nurse practitioner by training. Gerontology is actually my specialty. Right now, I am Vice President of Care Management at Careforth. Paula, you may be familiar with this, adult foster care program. So that's, I have a strong clinical background, obviously, and I think that that's a little bit of what I bring to the table here, but also, an interest in housing and my seat on that other board.
Great, thank you. Harold?
Thank you.
Awesome. Hi, everyone. Harold Mateo. Nice to meet you. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, yes.
Perfect. I'm a real estate broker for over 20 years, and I'm a developer. Like yourself, Steve, I also enjoy working a lot with first-time home buyers. It's just kind of like a really great feeling when you get them into their first home. My children go to school at Woodville, and what else? I'm a real estate developer. I used to own a franchise called We Buy Ugly Houses. I don't know if you've seen the old caveman everywhere. And yeah, I love real estate, and I love people, getting to the American dream of having their own home. So glad to be here.
Great. Welcome, Harold. Welcome. Charles?
Hey everyone, Charlie Tegotsky. I'm feeling a little under the weather, so I'm gonna be off camera for this
Okay.
one. Apologize. I'm currently working for the Massachusetts Office of Travel and Tourism, but until about 6 months ago, I was working in the town manager's office in Bedford, including working with the Municipal Affordable Housing Trust over there and the Bedford Housing Partnership. Before that, I was at the Metropolitan Area Planning Council, so kind of in and around housing policy for a while. And yeah, happy to be here. Glad to be able to be part of this group.
Great, thank you, Charles, and we hope you feel better. So anyways, I just thought we would do a little bit of homework or cleanup work first, and then I did put together a PowerPoint that if I successfully share my computer, you'll be able to see it. I know you got it earlier, but hopefully I'll figure that out. Everyone needs to get sworn into the town clerk's office. So if you haven't done that, please make sure you do. During regular office hours, it takes about 2 minutes. And it is ancient. It's old school. You raise your right hand, you get sworn in, and you sign the book. You sign the big binder. So it's actually something you need to do in person. Also, probably that came out to everybody in your appointment was a committee manual. Sherry Dalton, our town, my administrative assistant, put together this committee manual a while ago with us, and kind of really tells you everything about how to be on a committee and kind of gives you some of the insights of that. We ask that you sign the last page and send it back to us so we have it. We find that it's very helpful for everybody. So if you haven't done that, please do. We do it for every committee that we have. Don't feel that you're being picked on, because we do it for everybody. And the last one is a state ethics test. Now, this came in under the Patrick administration years ago. You need to take I'm not going to say it's a course, it's like a half an hour thing where you go online. Some of you probably already have if you're on other committees. So that's something that you do need to do per the state. If you're having any problems with that, please let me know. I'll be happy to help you. And we can send you a link to make it a lot easier. But it's very quick, it's very easy, and a lot of it is kind of silly. Like, you can't take a $10,000 bribe to vote a certain way. I mean, I think that's pretty obvious. So it is pretty interesting there. So I would ask that you all do that. Did everybody get the committee manual? Did you guys get that in the beginning? Okay, great. Perfect, thank you. And has anybody taken the state ethics test yet? Excellent, wow.
Yeah.
Beautiful. Me too. So please do. It's very, very easy, and it's simple, and you have to pass, right? You can't move on to the next question if you don't get it right. So don't worry. All right, great. So hopefully this is going to work.
Steve, I had a question.
Yes.
Do I need to take the ethics training for each
No,
organization?
you don't. If you've already taken it, you have to take it, what, one part every year and the other part every 2 years, you have to take one part.
Okay,
If you've already taken it, it does cover. You don't have to take it multiple times
okay.
because it's the same. All right, I'm gonna hopefully figure out how to share my screen. Oh, can everybody see this? Yes?
Yeah, I can see it, Steve.
Yeah, I can see it.
Everyone muted themselves. And all right, now let's see if I can put this into a slideshow format. Okay, anyways, I thought a good way to talk about this would be to talk about, you know, a little bit of the history behind it and then some things that I'm going to suggest. But this is your committee. Next meeting, when we set that up, we'll have you all will appoint a chair of the committee, and then we'll be off and running. But anyways, I just thought I'd go through this a little bit. So Mass General Law, Chapter 44, which was Section 55C, was enacted in 2005, allowed a municipality create a housing trust. And the purpose of a housing trust is to provide for the creation and preservation of affordable housing in municipalities for the benefit of low and moderate income households and for the funding of community housing. Okay, so that is something that we certainly want to do with everybody. And 130 municipalities have enacted have enacted a municipal affordable housing trust since 2005. Maybe we were 131 or 132. And you know, housing can be for those that maybe have some challenges, those that are elderly, those that are first-time buyers. So it is a big parameter. So what we did in Wakefield was we accepted the statute at the May 2023 town meeting. And as Councilor McLean knows, I have these huge binders that you can see behind me for each town meeting or actually write in. We had no questions, no comments on this. It just passed right through easily. So I think people see the importance of housing. We created a trust document that all of you should have received in August of 2023, and in October, the council appointed the trustees. So what are the responsibilities of the trustees? It's to manage the trust. It's serve as Wakefield's permanent committee for overseeing housing issues, and I think some of you mentioned that you were on housing committees in other communities. And it's to work towards the creation and preservation, as I said, of affordable housing in Wakefield for the benefit of all low, moderate income households. So when you go through this, there are many, many strategies that you can embark to do it. We can create affordable housing opportunities through development or direct assistance, including down payment and closing costs. One thing that I worked a lot with in my previous life as a closing attorney is there were a couple of communities in the North Shore that had housing, that already had housing trusts, and they actually helped first-time home buyers with closing costs or down payment assistance, and they actually recorded a second mortgage on the property. It's called a soft second mortgage. There were no payments involved. And I love those because, you know, I did a lot. Danvers had a great program where a representative from town hall would come down to the closing with some closing documents and a check for, let's say, $10,000. And that really helped these usually young people in their first home get into their first home, covered their closing costs, maybe help them with a little bit of the down payment. I thought that was a great program, and I think that's something we personally I would love to see this committee look into in the future. Support the creation of affordable and accessible housing units to help address needs of senior citizens and disabled households. And we'll talk about that a little bit in the down the line. There are a number of seniors that really would like to have home ownership in Wakefield. They feel they can't, or they may need some help making their home accessible for them. maybe some new people into the into the housing market that need some help making the home accessible for them. So things we can look at. I'm very preserve the long-term affordability of our existing affordable housing units at risk. So we have a number of housing units in town, and they're part and parcel of either 40B projects or our own inclusionary zoning projects, where these units will always stay, and I say always because, you know, that's what we'd like, will always stay at that below market rent, you know, at that 80% of the area median income. However, if after going through a marketing sale and what happened, there's no buyers that show up for it or no buyers that qualify, the unit owner can sell it on the market. DHCD, or what are they now? EOHLC. They have to approve of that as well. And that money that would be above that affordable unit would come back to the community to use for affordable housing. And that's really how this trust got the bulk of its income. But we lose a unit. We lose an affordable unit in the community. And I hate that. And it's only happened a handful of times in Wakefield, but it's still something that we want to maintain those units if we can. And we can think about supporting rental assistance and health and safety repairs for low and moderate income households. And I'm thinking particularly of some of our older people that maybe need a ramp to get in or some help in the house and things like that. So these are all things that can be done. Also work with the town council to access new housing resources. I name a couple of them there. Establish working relations with the planning board and ZBA on developments that could include affordable housing. I'm thrilled to hear that some of this committee has already done things like this, because that's we have a couple of projects that I think could be available on the horizon that could really make affordable for our seniors and for others. And be a point of contact for developers to obtain feedback on preliminary projects. Actually, some developers, as Harold will know, are good developers. They want to come in and they really want to work with the community. And we have a few of those every now and then that come meet with us. There may be a time we might have some joint meetings with the planning board and ZBA. There may be some times we meet with the town council. And we actually have an inventory of properties that are already affordable in the state size. But it'd be great too, maybe if we can prepare an inventory of properties that are potentially suitable for additional affordable housing. And that's something that we could certainly work on with this community. Work with the town council to make suitable public property available for affordable housing, something that we'll talk about, I think, a lot in the future. And maybe work together with a feasibility study analysis of town-owned parcels that may be suitable for some affordable housing. And our senior planner, Samantha Elliott, just joined us. Samantha, if you want to just introduce yourself quickly.
Sure. Hi, everybody. My name is Samantha Elliott. I'm the new senior planner for Wakefield, and have actually, one of the first things I started working on was starting to put together our RFP for our housing production plan so we can get that updated. That's something else that we'll be talking about likely at some point, and then working with Steve on some other projects as well in due time.
Thank you very much, Samantha, for joining us. So what do we have in the Housing Trust right now? Because there were a number of homes really between probably 2008 and 2015, or condo units basically, that did not sell to affordable people again. There was a monetary windfall of those units, and that money came back to the town. And that's been held separately for years. It's about $760,000. At the last, a couple of town council meetings ago, the town council, and I have the figure of 200,000 in there, and it's going to be plus or minus depending what washes through the energy assistance program that we ran during the COVID years and after. So there'll be almost a cool million, as a couple of councils like to say, available in this trust fund to work on and providing some housing opportunities for people. I think I'd like to stop there because I've talked a little bit and rambled on. Does anybody have any questions or comments at this point?
I have a question.
Yeah.
Why now?
Why now?
Yeah, why now? Why, if this has been around since 2005?
I tell you, I had two very good counselors that pushed it and looked at it and sensitized me to it and put it on the radar, and we got it done. Anybody else?
Hey, Steve, I think this is Mike. I think I'd just point out that of those amounts, the 200 ARPA, there's not an urgency, but there is a date by which those funds probably should be
Yeah.
committed. And maybe you could just address that briefly.
So, and I've been doing a little bit of work on this. So ARPA is the federal money that was given across the country for kind of to get each community out of the pandemic. Part of using and it's the American Rescue Plan Act, I believe, is what ARPA stands for. And any of the funding in there needs to be committed by December 24th, 2024. Okay? It needs to be spent by December 31st, 2024. It needs to be expended by December 31st, 2026. Now, the question is, if money has been placed into a trust, is it then in kind of a subaward category that it could never be brought back again, so the federal government would think that it has been in fact committed, so we can get to 2026, or would we have to spend that money by December 31st, 2024? I'm looking to get the ironclad answer to this, which is very hard from any of the federal government agencies we're going through. And I've been working with some auditors that actually audit for other communities to see what they think they're finding out as well. So that may be some urgency on using some of this money very quickly. So we may want to ramp up some programs really quick, which will mean that Samantha and I will be very busy pulling a few things together off the bat. So yes, and it's plus or minus 200. It depends what's left in the energy fund. Any other questions, comments? I know this is all a kind of technical stuff.
I think the only other technical thing I'd bring up, Steve, is that we, according to the trust, and people hopefully will think about whether they are interested in any of these positions. The trust says that we will have a chair, vice chair, treasurer, and clerk.
Yes.
So it's more than just chair, and also there is a June 30th to July 1st annual report, which is going to be interesting this year. We probably won't have a heck of a lot to say, so that might be the easiest annual report that's ever done by the trust.
Yeah, we will.
Just to point out a couple of the technicalities that we'll be dealing with in the future.
Yeah, we will ask for people to think about that at the next meeting. The funds will be handled here by our treasurer, though, and he's done a really good job, and so that should work out okay. So I was thinking about what would be something, and this is my suggestion, what might be a good first project to look at, in a kind of a sense of a buildable project. So one of the town-owned buildings that I've been hanging on to for a while, because I wanted to make sure that we didn't need it for swing space when we were doing the Galvin School. We did not need it for swing space then. Wanted to make sure we didn't need it for swing space when we were doing the public safety building. We actually did need it for swing space then. And I wanted to make sure, and the police are out of there, so that wasn't a problem anymore. And I wanted to make sure we wouldn't need it for swing space when we were doing the high school project, and we don't. So the project I was thinking of was the Hurd School. And if this group wants, I'd love to create a tour over the next couple of weeks where you can actually see this building, because it actually is it could be a pretty nice building, as we've seen a lot of communities where old neighborhood schools have been turned into condos. This was built in 1899. It's on a site of about 46,000 square feet, 22,000 square feet in the beginning of it, and it was turned over to the town in 2005. We used it for a private school. Some of you may remember that Nazareth Academy was in there. And like I said, it was swing space for the public safety building during that construction. Currently, it's being used for storage for some of the town departments, and Friends of BB Library book sale operations and storage. Full disclosure, I attended this school for 6 years. And for those of you doing the math, the way elementary schools are now, when I went, it was 1st through 6th grade. There was no kindergarten in Wakefield. So I grew up right down the street from the school, and I actually live a few blocks away now. So it is a grand building that I drive by at least 4 times a day, it seems. It really, I think it could be something. Give you a picture of the inside. It's a classic hardwood, some pretty big rooms, pretty big windows. And in 2005, we had a number of community meetings, neighborhood meetings. And I think the people threw everything under the sun at it. But I think the consensus from the unit was, from the neighborhood was, housing in the existing footprint. Most people felt 11 plus or minus units would work. The basement probably would be used for storage. There is a huge auditorium that might be put into a couple of loft units, and it's a couple of floors of buildings. But we talked about municipal offices, education use. Some people wanted to knock down for a park, museum. Some people wanted to knock down and make 3 lots, 3 just market rate lots there. Other people have said a rec center. But the consensus of the neighborhood at the time, and I think that we would have, if we want to pursue this matter further, we would have at least one neighborhood meeting to get the neighborhood sense again. But the consensus there in 2016 was 11 plus or minus units in the existing footprint, kind of following the same model we used when the Franklin School, which is on Nahan Street, which is a little bit of a bigger school, was converted, sold by the town and converted into units at that time. I think in this case, we should certainly make sure there are affordable units. My memory of when we did the Franklin School, we did not do that because I think at that point, the town council, previous board of selectmen, wanted to get the biggest price they could. It was a little bit of a different time fiscally then. I think, Matt, I don't think there's any affordable there. Do you agree with me, Matt? I don't think so.
You're correct. It was excluded with the RFP from the select board at the time. So.
That's what I think, yeah. So I don't know how, I'd love to have, who's been in the Hurd School besides me many times? I think, oh, Gail, you've been in there? Great. Matt, great. Mike's been in. I don't think other members have probably been in there. Would people like to go in and see it? Yes, no?
Yeah, I think that'd be great.
Yeah, I think even seeing it again might be nice to envision it. All right, I will certainly set up something for that. So I was really thinking that might be a good project to look at. It is a town-owned property. It means that there will be a request for proposals that will most likely go out. It has to be approved by a 2/3 vote of town meeting. It could be out for the November fall town meeting, and that this could be, if this group so wanted to push this forward and the town council agreed, and I have a feeling that they may, that this could be a great location for some, certainly for affordable units, certainly some that may be accessible for people with challenges. It is right on a bus line. Bus stops right on the corner in front of it, and that takes you downtown and then onward to Malden, where you can get on the commuter rail or on the Orange Line. So it's in a good location for public transportation. And it is, for those, it is a nice walking distance. It's a block and a half to the lake and in a really nice neighborhood. So I always thought that this could be ripe for something, and maybe it's a good first project. I don't know at first blush if anybody had any comments or thoughts or what have you.
So were you thinking that they were going to be condos, that they were going to be sold to affordable?
That was
Or-
that, yeah, that would be my, with a regulatory agreement. That was my first thought.
Okay, so not
You may
looking
wanna
at
buy
as
and
apartment
take it-
rentals.
And someone may want to do that too, but I was thinking more home ownership, but if we think that it's a better bang for the buck for rentals with affordable units, that's okay too.
Well, what's the, I'm sorry to be a little dense here, but so is the game plan with this to try to increase the number of affordable units so that there's not a 40B problem in the future?
I think that's certainly a byproduct of this. I don't think that that's the end all and be all, because I think we will also probably create market rate units at the same time. But I would certainly suggest that we probably want to keep that ratio, for when we hit 2030, when the new census comes in for Wakefield, that, we created a good amount of affordable units, greater than 10% of the entire created. Because I think if it's town-owned land, we got to think about the fiscal side too, right?
I mean, because you're going to be selling the property to whoever the developer is. That's the game.
Most likely, yeah.
Okay.
And I don't think developer would be the housing authority, but it may be.
Well, it could. It's just 11 units isn't a lot for a developer.
Right. Yeah, but I'll tell you, we had developers coming left and right when we first talked about this a few years ago. So
No, I mean, I think that we came to look at it, but I mean, if we're going to be limited to 11, I'm not sure if the rate of return is going to be there, or at least for low income housing tax credit property.
Mike,
Gail, when you say low income tax credit property, you would be talking about 100% rental, or would you be talking about condominium units or
No, I mean, it's usually rental.
right.
Yeah.
I think here what we need to think about, I think starting at the beginning, the first thing is, what do the trustees see the purpose of this as being? We could expend the 200 in ARPA funds potentially through grants.
Correct.
Wouldn't have to be loans.
Right.
And 760 plus 200, 960 is a lot of money, and it's really a drop in the bucket at the same time. And we're not a CPA community, so we don't have any continued source of funding at present.
Mhm.
So I think we just need to consider, do we want to do rental assistance? Do the trustees want to do rental assistance? Do the trustees want to do, grants or closing costs outright payment? So you're not increasing somebody's debt.
Right.
And you're not chasing a 30-year, $10,000, $20,000 loan, and that's not part of your, itinerary. Or do we want to, shoot the whole amount on a project such as the one that Steve is talking about? And if we do, forget about 40B to me, because if it's going to be a mixture of market and non-market, you're only going to pick up a couple of units anyway. So I just think those are some of the things we have to be discussing and thinking about. But I think the starting point is, what do the trustees see, being done with this amount of money we have?
Well, and one other question you might want to think about with specifically the Herd School is whether or not preservation of the structure is of any importance as part of this project. Because it could potentially be eligible if it is an income producing property for some federal tax grants or tax credits. And so that would come into play with what the long-term preferences of the trust are as well.
Yes, I mean, all the schools that my company has done has developed also had, besides state tax credits, federal tax credits, it also had historic tax credits, as long as we kept a portion of the footprint as the original building. But yeah, I don't think this at 11 units, and if you're not looking at rental, I mean, it would be 100% affordable in order to get those credits. So not the historic, but the other two tax credits. But at 11 units, that would be a little tough to make the numbers work, I think, on the underwriting.
Well, and I
But-
don't know if that number is set in stone at this point. I mean, that's something that we could always, Steve had said that that's what had come across from the previous meeting. We'd be holding another meeting if this is something that you want to look at going forward with. And then at that point also, we could have further conversations about what the unit goals were and whether or not it made sense to potentially broach the public or kind of the topic even of whether you're sticking to existing footprint, whether you're looking at any parking credits or reducing parking or anything. I mean, there's so many different components, I'm sure,
Right, absolutely.
to it that it's just the kind of preliminary idea of, is this something that you want to think about kind of looking at in the next year or by the end of the year or something like that?
And I think when the Franklin School was done, there was a lot of public input, and it was a lot of people really wanted to keep the structure, like Steve mentioned. It means a lot to the community to preserve that also. And you do get into the back and forth of preserving an old structure and making it accessible, the cost involved, whereas if you just sold the thing off and built a purpose-built building for, you could get a lot more units in there, but trying to get buy-in from the community is going to be tough. So I think if we start looking at this, one of the first things we should do is get some public feedback and see how people are feeling about this before going too far.
Yeah, I agree. In 2015, maintaining a structure, other than the people who wanted to knock it down and have free lots, was something that was important to the neighborhood at that time. Was very important. And the next door neighbor, who has since moved, was an architect, and he thought 11 units was the number in the building. Maybe he didn't want any more because he lived next door, and maybe it would be more. But I agree, it's not 100 units, which would be great for a larger project, but it is a great looking building, and I think that was pretty clear. But times change, and it's depending what, as Mike said, what does the trustees want to do, and what does the community want to do? Because 2/3 vote at town meeting is not a slam dunk. So we have to have good neighborhood and community buy-in. But does this sound like something we should try to kind of pursue a little bit, at least set up a tour and then maybe set up a neighborhood meeting and do some listening? I think Paula likes it. I like that.
Yeah, I think that would be a good idea, because why, if we're gonna run into the not in my backyard thing with affordable housing, then yeah, you're kind of swimming upstream. I mean, it's already difficult to create affordable housing 100% affordable with the construction costs nowadays. But you know, if the sell is, the more we can create affordable units, and we can get to our point where we don't have to be under the gun of 40B and being forced into development of other parts of town, because we've now met the 40B criteria. So we're not being held hostage by 40B if we actually can get some full affordable housing. You know,
I actually think we're very close to hitting the 10% threshold anyway.
oh, good.
Very close.
My fear is when they dump all the non-affordable after the next census into the denominator, we may not be at 10% anymore.
Right.
Well, that's what I was thinking too. I mean, we got those units going at the head of the lake. I don't know how many of those are set aside as affordable, but it's certainly not a huge percentage to the total number of units.
Yeah.
So we keep running up against this barrier.
18%.
18% will be affordable.
Be affordable, yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, you start to dump all these new units on that are being, we've already committed to building, allowing them to be built, right? Head of the lake's been allowed to be built now. It's like, what does that do with the math for 40B? Because they said the sell is, hey, if we make this really awesome LIHTC property that looks phenomenal, and it means that we're not forced into, Water Street or whatever the fight is. There's so many fights going on, whatever the fight is, today's fight is.
It's
because
Nahan
we can
Street,
say,
that's where the big fight is.
yeah, it's like, hey, if we have 100% affordable property, we're going to meet that criteria. Now we're not going to be held hostage by other developers trying to put in 400 units, in a place that only could do 200. They said kind of the Water Street thing.
And if the trustees do decide to go forward with the Hurd School, and if they do decide to go forward and think it would be better rental, we may want to consider doing it as a friendly 40B, because then all the units would come towards our.
That's what I mean. If
Yeah.
you could do 100% affordable.
Right.
As I said, a lot of people, when they think about affordable housing, they think about the old projects, like Charlestown. And I can tell you that underneath what would qualify for affordable, if I showed you some of our properties, are not just ours, there's other developers out there, but you would have no idea that they were all low-income housing units. You would have no idea. They are that well built, and they look awesome. And we could do 100% senior affordable as well.
Right. Yeah.
That's like two check marks off of your list of what we wanted to do. But as Mike said, there's other ways to use that money. We can, give grants out to people so that they can do their first down payment or help with rental assistance, in these places. So yeah, there's a lot of opportunities there.
Gail, if this project, if we committed the lion's share of the funds that we do have to this project, and it was only 11 units or whatever, if it was a smaller project, do you think it would be financially feasible for a company to come in? I mean, I know we had a meeting with Penrose a while back just to talk, and their minimum was 60 units. And like you say, these look very nice to me. These are nice properties that a lot of you folks in the industry are doing. But they didn't want to look at anything that was less than 60.
Normally we would be in the normally we would be in the same boat, but I was just looking at the underwriting. We're doing a project now in Lowell, Helena Crocker, and that's only 18 units. So I don't know I mean, if there's a need and we can get the financing, it can be done. And I think the sources, this is going to be almost looks like a $10 million project. Is
that new, or is it renovating a town building?
This one I think it's a 9%. So I think it's new construction. It's 100% senior too. I mean, we have done probably six schools that we've renovated. And I'm not saying to go with us. I'm just saying I at least can show you numbers. I can show you underwriting numbers for units, what it would cost, and at least put that on the table. It might not be feasible. Like I said, it may or may not be feasible with 11 units. It could be feasible with 18, but if we're stuck against, and also 11 units, what does that, do to our overall number? And, there's a lot of math involved. But I mean, like I said, we are doing right now with Chelmsford Housing Authority an 18 unit in Lowell.
Interesting.
So
I'm working on a 27 unit right now, and it's all about the numbers. I mean, if 11 is what works, I guess gotta make it work, right? If not, go a little higher. But I think it would be nice for Wakefield in general to see it have a better use than what it currently is now.
Harold, have you done school buildings, or have you been involved in renovating, an older structure like this?
I have, yes. In Central Mass, in Fitchburg. I'm working right now on a building from almost 1899. It's called the Dickinson Building. And it has
part of the deal the town kind of gives you the building and
No,
No?
this one I'm actually buying.
Okay, okay.
Yeah.
But like you say, it's all about the numbers. It's,
Yeah,
do the numbers work?
but I'm sure we could make that work there.
Do you think, have you done any projects where it's a combination? One of the things, I just float ideas to Steve. He
Yeah.
has to put up with me. But
I
I
love
was, I was wondering, would it be possible to do a combination of senior, moderate income of whatever age and also disabled? I mean, have you ever seen anything like that done?
I've not tried that mix. Wouldn't say it's not possible, but normally you go one way or the other.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Well, I'll tell you, it
not
wasn't
seen
a,
mix.
it wasn't a statistical study, but when I was down there about, last year sometime working with the Friends of BB Library have been using that, the big building there, to store books. And I was down there and just talking to people in the neighborhood, and there seemed to be a lot of interest at that time in senior housing.
Yeah, yeah. It would
Except
be
for the next door neighbor, but now he's gone to senior housing.
right. I guess less of a burden on our public schools. It just depends on really how you look at it, right?
I mean, we've done a lot of senior deals. I mean, they're really viable. I mean, and we fill them up like instantaneously. And this is where you'd be working with, the Wakefield Housing Authority to help out with, allowing some of the units to be for disabled. There's you can do a combination of 100% home. There's a lot of things you can do within the numbers, but you can do 100%. You can do a portion of it that's for homeless, those that are making 80% of AMI, disabled, and in order to get state money financing for that, the more you have of those things, the better they like it. So if we're going to go to DHCD for money or home or any of the soft financing that's out there, I mean, they do like those kind of deals put together. But it would definitely be working with, Wakefield Housing Authority. I'm sorry, what is the school that's behind the school that was renovated? It's behind the firehouse? What's not
Oh,
her?
the Lincoln School,
Lincoln.
Lincoln,
The Lincoln School. Yeah, isn't that senior? 100% senior?
100% senior, and it's congregate living too, so it's a little bit of a different.
Oh, I didn't know that. That's interesting. But looking at something similar to Lincoln. So anyway, but that's why we're here. We're all just brainstorming and thoughts on what we can do with this or any other piece of ground that's out there.
So I think whether we use the funds we have invested in this project or not, I think just getting the process going, the building's sitting there unused for the most part. Getting the conversation going, I think, is a good thing. And where it leads to there, if the property's transferred to a developer who builds it out and then we rent or lease it back, something like that. Whatever we do, I think as long as we start the process, it'll be helpful.
So it sounds like I should set up a tour anyway, with this group. And then, at least the first neighborhood meeting to talk about and get some ideas. Probably after we come back after the tour and talk about it. Be my guess, but it's up to you guys.
That's a great start.
Okay.
Yeah, and for public, Steve, we would probably publicize it on the town website and
Oh, yeah,
maybe,
we would
yeah.
do that. I would also, yeah, I'd also have DPW go door to door in the neighborhood to make sure that everyone is aware.
Right.
And we'd have it in the building. And last time we did it, we did tours. People loved it because they remembered that this was where I went to third grade and everything. I'm not so sure we'll do that again because there's some more stuff in there now, but the neighborhood really liked it at the time. One person even thought we should put the DPW yard there until his wife got a hold of him outside and he came back in and said, "Can you take my name off that list?" I was crazy to say that. I said, "Yeah, don't worry." All
I
right.
got a recent call not that long ago that we should raise it and make it into a park. I don't see that as being the best use.
Yeah.
And I think it would be cost prohibitive in the first place.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't think, personally, I don't think it is, but
There's a lot of opinions, so it's good to get out there in the community. I agree with Matt on that, and just reinvigorate that process that occurred some years ago. And you know, I'd love to be on a tour with some of these people with actual,
Yeah.
building experience and knowledge of how this is done.
yeah, that would be great, because that would really help us out a lot, help
Yeah.
me learn a little bit. I'm happy to set that up in the next couple of weeks. I know it's crazy with town meeting, but this might be a nice diversion from that, actually.
Can we go on a night that we do have town meeting?
We could, but that might be even better, right? Oh, sorry. Okay. So that sounds like a yes from everybody. So you need to be thinking about what you really want this trust to be, as Mike said, what you want the direction to go. We will set up something with Hurd very shortly. Maybe we'll try to pick another date today. We'll try to talk about the soft second mortgage program. That is money that would come back eventually to the trust when people sell or refinance, but it's not an income stream, so to speak. Occasionally we get those in too. And as Samantha said, she is working on the housing production plan RFP, which we hope to have out shortly. We'll bring that back to that too, because that's another important component that we need to work on. That is basically what I had tonight for our first meeting. So I don't know if there's any other committee comments or, go running for the hills. Steve, this is what I thought. You got to tell me what you think.
We have a cadence of how often we'll be meeting. I don't know if I missed that.
Yeah, I thought it would be, I think once we get up and running, it won't be as often, but I think we'd like to get this kind of off the ground a little bit. And then maybe, I don't see it, but it's up to the trustees. I think it said quarterly, at least quarterly in the trust document, but I
Yeah.
think it'll be more than that in the beginning. Sorry, but it
No,
might
that
be-
seems reasonable.
It seems like we'd have to, if we have $200,000, we gotta figure out.
Yeah, we got to figure out that. Well, hopefully we'll come back with something quickly on it. I would be very happy to set up some sort of a tour on May 1st. Does that work for people?
It's good with me.
Wednesday,
for
May
me.
1st. Sam, would that be good for you? Or,
For me,
yeah,
um,
not, huh?
that,
Calendar shows that as Labor Day.
May 1st?
Yeah, my calendar does at least. I don't know why.
Labor Day?
No, it's May 27th is Memorial Day.
No, Labor Day, May 1st.
I think that's like International Labor Day.
Oh,
Oh,
Canada.
sorry. It might be because I have the international calendar on.
It might be Canada.
Sorry, I got scared there for a minute.
So did I.
so I should be able to do something that Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, somewhere in that first week.
What time is good for people? I'd like to do it when it's lighter, although it's light now anyway. Is this time good for everybody?
Yeah, I just can't, I have a meeting from 2 to 3, but after that, I can do anything.
Does 6 o'clock work for everybody then?
Yep.
Does that work for you too, Sam?
That works.
Okay,
Yep.
I will send that out. 5/1 May 1st, and then we'll figure out, maybe we can have a quick meeting after. We can have it in person, and we can talk about who wants to be chair and vice chair and treasurer. Don't be shy. Someone needs to step up. We probably can make someone the clerk that is a town employee, not named Steve Mayo. So I don't think I was heard.
I don't know if,
Well, are you
Samantha
looking for
heard-
suggestions now? Are you looking for like, hey, I'll do it now?
Oh, no, think about it. Think about it.
Okay.
Take the next meeting, but think about it between now and then. We will need a chair, vice chair, and a clerk anyway.
Got it.
All right. That's all that I had for today. I'm a great believer in keeping meetings to an hour if we can. But if anybody else had anything, please. I actually learned some good things tonight, so I thank you very much.
And I hopefully will have an update on the release date of the RFP for the housing production plan the next time that we meet.
Great.
I'm happy to share all of that and the progress of that process with all of you.
Great. Thank you, Sam. Thank you so much. All right, and we will have at that time survived one night of town meeting with probably 3 to go. Or maybe 2 if we're lucky. All right, great.
All right.
If someone wanted to make a motion to adjourn, that would be great.
So moved.
I'll second.
Matt Lowry. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay.
Hi,
thank
thank you.
All so much for coming out tonight. I think this is a great group, and we will at least have our meetings in the near future, or I'll at least suggest it and make it available for hybrid setting if people would like. I think it's nice to see people if you can too, whether it's in the school or whether it's a town hall building, and start to talk to people. So I think this is great. Thank you so much.
Great.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you. Have a good night.